As the Secretary General of the UN, condemned the military escalation taken by the United States and Israel against the Iranian regime, saying undermines international peace and security. Antonio, for the love of God, shut the fuck up. We are tired of you. Last month, whilst the Iranian regime was slaughtering tens of thousands of Iranian civilians, you congratulated them on their anniversary. You hypocrite. You do not get to weigh in on peace and security when you propped up the entity responsible for all of the instability in the Middle East. Why does Hamas exist? Iran. Why does Hezbollah exist? Iran. Why do the Houthis exist? Iran. Who made the IEDs that blew up American soldiers in Iraq? Iran. Who was building an extremely secretive, unchecked nuclear program? Iran. Why are there military bases in Kuwait, in Saudi Arabia, in Bahrain, in the UAE, in Qatar? To protect them from who? The Islamic Republic of Iran. And despite all of this, what did you and your sordid organisation do? You gave them legitimacy. The UN elevated the Islamic Republic of Iran into positions of power within the UN, allowing them to chair multiple committees and multiple bodies, including human rights. You're a joke. Your organisation is a joke. So whilst I and millions of other individuals around the world celebrate the success of the US and Israel's joint strike, and celebrate the beginning of the end of an oppressive, tyrannical, murderous regime that has violated every single human right known to man, and that's held the good people of Iran in shackles for 47 years, you and your useless organisation can rot in hell, along with Khomeini, Nasrallah, Sinwar, Deif, Hania, Shamkhani, and all the others who dared to threaten humanity. Fuck you.
Oh, I like her. That's to all the people at the Oscars last night, all the Free Palestine fucking losers. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Kirby, Manny. Who else we got here? Cosmo. I got to get new glasses again. Dario, Central. I'm losing my vision, guys. I hope you're all having a good day. It looks like Bitcoin is doing all right. We're actually hitting a resistance point right now. We could pause here. I think that's very possible. I would love it, though, if throughout this week we made it to 80,000. That would be a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. For a number of reasons. But one, because it really just nullifies and kills the potential of this weird double head and shoulders that some people would like to say that is happening, right? This is the next leg down in Bitcoin. They can't give you a reason for that. Maybe global liquidity would be that reason. Severe escalation in the war, somebody dropping nukes. Maybe you can see it then. I can't say it's not possible, but I will just say this. I think it's pretty unlikely. Good morning. Are you going to jump to Besant? Hell yeah. Yeah, Besant's coming up. We're ready. We're not messing around. We're ready for some Besant because you got to listen to Scotty talk. But yeah, so I think this would be great. If we popped up here and got to 80, that would be beautiful. The head and shoulders patterns don't happen while the right shoulder is going up. It's just a very odd thing. If anything, it shows that you got support off the left shoulder. And so it's something you just don't see. But yeah, the pattern we saw yesterday was beautiful, though, and that's why I called it out before we had this pop, right? So I said over here, this stair-step pattern that you see, this is on the daily time frame, shows a continuous bid. This could be people buying STRC, which then buys Bitcoin, and then everybody's like, shit, I better buy some MicroStrategy if they're racking up all this Bitcoin, and you just got this recursive flywheel effect that is very exciting. And again, on the daily, we broke above the 50 for the first time in a while. Again, we didn't stay above the 50, guys. What is this? Mid-January was the last time we were really above the 50 moving average. So we're starting to see some turnaround in this. The doomers are going to tell you that it just goes straight down from here. I can tell you, anytime I've seen this kind of a bid where you've got this stair-step pattern, that is not something that disappears easily. Not from what I've seen. So I think people are going to be surprised by that. Let's see here. Morning, guys. Seems like we're starting to get interesting again. I agree. Loss on crypto. I agree. I think things are getting very exciting. We're going to kind of step through this. We do have Besson. Oh, is he talking now? Oh, let me go back. Let me go back here. 1 second. 1 second. How do I do the 15? All right, we'll just start here. Fuck it.
With China in April.
Well, the meetings were very good. We've got a stable relationship. This is our 6th meeting in our economic consultations. The Vice Premier, Hui Feng, and I have developed great respect for each other. But really,
if you guys have questions about anything, too, queue them up in the chat. I'll try and keep up on it today.
Meetings are generated by the great respect that the two leaders, President Trump, Party Chair Xi, have for each other. We will see whether the visit takes place as scheduled, but what I do want to parse, and there's a false narrative out there, that if the meetings are delayed, it wouldn't be delayed because the president's demanded that China police the Straits of Hormuz. It would be
because there was a report out to that effect this morning.
That's completely false. So if the meeting for some reason is rescheduled, it would be rescheduled because of logistics. The president wants to remain in D.C. to coordinate the war effort, and that traveling abroad at a time like this may not be optimal.
Because that narrative is out there. So you're not saying that the meeting will be rescheduled, but you're saying that, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, sir, if it is rescheduled, it's because of time and travel, not because of a dispute over the Strait of Hormuz.
Exactly. It would be a decision President made as Commander-in-Chief to stay in the White House or to stay in the United States while this war is being prosecuted.
Because you're a markets expert, obviously, longtime market participant. The markets may react to any word of a delay, pause in the meeting. And you're saying if this meeting is paused or delayed, the market should not react, assuming it's some conflict between the two nations.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We had very good two days here. We'll be issuing a statement in the next few days, and we'll be reaffirming the stability in the relationship between the first and second largest economies in the world.
I want to get to the war. I want to get to oil. I want to get to commodities. I want to start, though, by just finishing up on this meeting with China. It sounds positive.
Nice.
Were there discussions about things like export controls on advanced American semiconductors? Will the Chinese agree to buy more Boeing jets or other U.S. goods? Can you go a little more into detail about the products and services that were discussed here?
Sure. So we really don't discuss our export restrictions in these meetings. It's more of an economic dialogue. What we do discuss, exactly as you said, are our purchase commitments from the Chinese. And we also explain to them our new tariff regime and how that would work. The 122 tariffs that were implemented, Section 122 that were implemented right after the Supreme Court ruled against the president's use of IEEPA. And we explained the Section 301 studies that Ambassador Greer and USTR will be doing, which should be completed by July.
Is there an opportunity for, assuming the stock market has, I know that's not your only concern, I understand that. Stock market is down about 5% off its highs, so it hasn't collapsed, but it is down off the highs. The markets are nervous. You look at the VIX, the volatility index, it's elevated. Would you ever consider using, or would the president consider using the tariffs, the 15%, as a bargaining chip with China vis-a-vis the markets?
Well, what are we bargaining for? Because the president's made it very clear, and over the past year, President Trump through USTR, through myself, and Commerce, we've negotiated trade deals with most of our major trading partners, and we've reordered global trade. Our goods trade deficit with the world is down. Our goods trade deficit with China is down. We had substantial tariff income last year. The court said we'll have to refund that, but I could tell you, just because of the change from IEEPA to the 122s, and we'll see what the studies on the 301s bring, but it's very likely we at Treasury, assuming a successful completion of the 301s, and we don't know exactly how those will end, that there be very little change in tariff revenue. And again, the ultimate purpose of tariffs is to reshore production. The revenues are a very nice incidental along the way. In a way, it's kind of payback for the offshoring, for the unfair trade practices. But at the end of the day, we want to reshore manufacturing in the U.S., especially strategic manufacturing. And to go back to our negotiations or our consultations with the Chinese, we reiterate to them, we do not want to decouple, but we do need to take strategic industries back. So we are doing the strategic change, but not a generalized decoupling in terms of trade.
I want to talk about obviously what's going on with the war. Oil touching $100 a barrel, U.S. traded oil touching $100 a barrel. It's third time only it's happened in the last 10 or so years. We saw it shortly after the Russia invasion of Ukraine as well. Are there any tools that you, Treasury, the President can or will use outside of the SPR and the Global Coordinated Release to mitigate higher prices and impacts from the war?
Well, again, it'll depend on the duration of the conflict, and President Trump has made it clear that his goal is to degrade and destroy the capabilities, the military capabilities of the regime, to destroy the Navy, which is done, the Air Force, which is done, and now the bombing campaigns are going after the factories so that they cannot recreate.
I'm going to see if I can speed this up.
We want to destroy the Iranian ability to project power outside of their borders. And Brian, Iran was the head of the snake, for global terrorism everywhere. Whether it was through their proxies or there were Iranian Guard members in Venezuela. There's Hezbollah in Colombia. They're interacting with Cuba. Everywhere that there is chaos and terrorist mayhem, it is Iran. So this is a generational opportunity to end this.
I think the risk and the fear that people I've spoken to on and off the record, the risk is that while the head of the snake in Tehran may have been cut off, there are IRCG bosses that have gotten personally very wealthy. They run little fiefdoms. They're rich off of control. And there's nothing to stop them from having a rocket-powered missile shooting it at a supertanker. Do we know as a nation who right now we are technically fighting? Because between the Houthis in the Red Sea, and I know the Department of War is its own thing, Mr. Secretary, but do we have an idea as to who we are fighting against right now?
Sure. Well, we know exactly who we are fighting against. And if you want to use kind of historical analogy, think they're in Hitler's bunker, but Hitler is dead. And now they have dispersed out. And one of the things I'm going to do is bust this myth that is in the mainstream media that there is this coherent Iranian plan, that they are a smoothly functioning government. First of all, the previous Ayatollah did not want his son to become the Ayatollah. He left written instructions and they overrode him. We believe that the current Ayatollah is injured. We don't know to what extent, and maybe incapacitated. And they're just small bases. They're in the bunker. They are panicked, and like the circular firing that they are doing on their Gulf neighbors was a big mistake.
But it's enough. But it's enough to distort probably the most important shipping point in the world. And I don't want to say that the Strait is, quote, closed. I don't like that term, but the reality is shipping traffic has fallen off a cliff. It's critical for oil, for gas, for fertilizers, helium, for semiconductors. Is there a plan to get that fully, I don't want to say reopen, there was a tanker that ran through today, fully operational and safe for all global shipping?
Well, let's pull that apart. So we are seeing more and more the fuel ships start to go through. The Iranian ships have been getting out already, and we've let that happen to supply the rest of the world. We've seen Indian ships go out now, so the Indians who rely very heavily on Gulf oil. We believe some Chinese ships have gone out. So that should start ramping up before there are any the flotillas or protective armadas in the Gulf. So we think that there will be a natural opening that the Iranians are letting out, and for now we're fine with that. We want the world to be well supplied. The other thing that we did, we gave a 30-day waiver for Russian oil that was already on the water. It was about 130 million barrels, and that's a lot of oil. Good thing about it.
1.5 days global supply, Mr. Secretary.
No, but that's bad framing. Okay. Good framing is that there was about 20 million a day coming out of the Gulf, that 1.5 of that is the Iranian oil, so the 18.5. The Saudis and UAE have diverted the production into the Red Sea. So that's about another 5. There's a strategic petroleum release. So we are in deficit somewhere between 10 and 14.
Okay, I was going to ask you, because this is the old hedge fund manager, Treasury Secretary coming out, counting those barrels. In your math, because everybody has different numbers, how many barrels of oil do you really believe your office, you personally, the president, believes that we are short in the world right now?
Well, it looks like the deficit is about 10 or 14. And that's before any of the ships are coming out of the straits. So if you think about the Russian oil, that is somewhere between 9 to 11 days, 12 days of supply without the market moving. There's Iranian oil that's out in the water right now, about 140 million barrels. The Saudis, they have supplies stored around the world that they can release. And then the global SPR release, largest ever, it was 400 million barrels.
Is there any scenario in which the White House or Treasury would extend that waiver on Russian oil from 30 days to something longer? And you understand also the optics.
You don't give away all your
of
stuff,
that.
man.
We hear removing
stupid questions.
Basically
Just stupid.
sanctions on Putin. People react to that.
Well, Brian, which is more? If oil spiked to $150, but Putin was getting 70% of that, or oil stays at 95 to 100, where's he getting more money? If it spikes to 150, so roughly his coffers are unchanged, and that whether a couple of billion more, a lot of money in the real world, but in terms of the Russian Federation, it costs them about $2 billion a day to run the government. Mm-hmm. So the idea is, as soon as the conflict is over, and the markets are well supplied, to go back. And again, it is a short-term window for oil on the water. We believe that will be consumed very quickly. And Brent, the other important thing to know is that oil was going to China. They were going to consume it anyway. It was just backed up. Yep. And so by unsanctioning it, it can go to Malaysia, Singapore, India. The Indians have bought quite a bit. So it can go to alleviate the shortage, because most of the oil from the Gulf does in fact go to Asia.
Nice. It does. When we wrap it up, I have to ask this question. So just kind of going back to my earlier question, is there something besides a global oil release that you or your office, the White House, could do? Could you intervene in the financial side of the commodities or oil markets to bring down the price of oil?
Yeah, that rumor's in the market.
I know.
When there's big dynamic price action, that always happens. We haven't done that.
You have? Would you do it?
So I'm not sure under what authority or what auspices.
But you have not. I want to be clear, because you know that's out there. Yeah, don't worry. The treasuries and the plunge protection team is in focus.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
People used to say like the Treasury was buying S&Ps. I think that's usually an excuse for people who got too short and got squeezed.
And then finally, wrap it up. I got to ask this to wrap it up. Expectation of timeline on this, because with every passing day, with every passing week, now we're in the third week, markets going up, fertilizers, gas, everything. And the world is really worried about shortages and also the inflationary effect here and abroad.
Yep, Brian, can we just be clear here?
Okay.
It's 2 weeks. It's 2
It's
weeks.
2 weeks.
And
Yes.
I know the media
Thanks, Scott.
likes to move things along. We see these headlines, and that's part of the Iranian strategy. And it's very unfortunate that because of a dislike for President Trump, not you, but a lot of mainstream media are trying to speed this up, trying to make it into some crisis that it's not. And on the other side of this, if you look at longer dated crude, you look at future inflation expectations, they're both very well anchored. And this will end. And I don't know how many weeks it will be, but on the other side of this, the world will be safer and we will be better supplied.
So the backwardation of the market, you think, is correct? $80 oil in a couple months.
I think probably much lower.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and longtime former hedge fund manager. We're plucking some of that knowledge as well, sir, but we appreciate you letting us sit down with you here at the OECD in Paris.
All right, that was great. And speaking of that, let's look real quickly at how things are doing. I want to talk about metals first, guys, because they are not faring well today. And again, we talked about this before. We talked about this up here. We called the top up here on silver. It is down 35%. I actually think this is a really ugly chart. I did one yesterday. This right here, I mean, this looks like a top. It looks like a descending triangle. If I flip this around, I would be bullish on the fact that we were recovering. So let me just look at this real quick here, and then we'll move on to some other things like oil and other areas. But if you saw this, guys, if you saw this, let's forget about what chart this is. Just ignore that this is silver. If you saw this kind of bounce, this massive bounce, very powerful wick, establishing a much higher low, and it looks like it's coming up here, this looks like an ascending triangle at the very least, which, again, isn't a good thing, because if we just draw it like this, this looks like it's going to go it's going to go up. And if it's going to go up, it actually means it's going to go down, because we have this inverted. So let me just real quickly put this here. So again, sometimes it helps just to flip the chart around to remove your bias, but this is not a good look. This is not a good look right now for silver. I think it's going to get worse for metals. I think metals did a great job. I think people made a bunch of money off of them. If you held silver over here at $28 and then it made it up to 122, in a multi-trillion market cap, and you didn't sell a little bit, I can't feel sorry for you at all. And again, gold doesn't look any better. Platinum looks worse. Copper's continued to suck. I want to shift real quickly, though, over to oil. So let me just grab that. If we look at oil, dollar, I'm not sure what the dollar is going to do yet, but oil, again, did go higher. Lots of gaps in this price action. It is up into the deep red category. Again, over the weekend, people got super excited last week, I think it was, and bid this thing up to almost to $120 a barrel. I don't think that's going to last. This right now, again, we kind of have this hard resistance zone. We're in it, and there's definitely enough price action to want to pull us back down if we don't have some kind of major escalation. And we'll look at some graphs that'll show you how it's not going to be a major escalation. He almost said the quiet part out loud. Which quiet part was that? Real quickly, let me look here. So Market Stats has daily sentiment for the S&P is at 33. This is the lowest it's been since Liberation Day. So again, not very good. You can see where it was when we were at these levels below this 33 level, kind of the oversold territory for daily sentiment. You can see where we were at bottoms. Now, we're not way down here, but again, it's one of those things where I think with the S&P, and I should probably just voice this real quick. And again, if you guys are getting anything out of this, please hit the like button. It is very helpful. I actually think the S&P can drop further. Again, this is a trend line that goes way back, guys. This is like, we usually stay in the top half. Sometimes things suck, like the pandemic over here. Or again, this period over here from like August 2022. This was literally a recession, especially for growth and tech. And so in memes and Bitcoin and all that stuff, right? From raising the rates at the most aggressive rate in history, you can see how we got crushed all the way down to the bottom of the trend here. And then we started to go back up, and we didn't even get to the bottom over here. Again, this was the tariff tantrum in April of last year. Is it possible that we hit this yellow, like kind of midline, and or this previous level of volume? Yes, it's totally possible. And what I think can actually happen, guys, is I think the top 7, the Magnificent 7, can underperform the other 493 companies in the index because they're the ones doing all the CapEx spend. I think this could hold true for Tesla too. Tesla is my number 1 holding. We'll talk about that. I updated my portfolio finally. We should talk about that in a second too. But I do believe that the S&P could actually trail down further. It could get down even to 6,300 or maybe to 6,100 range, and that would still be completely and utterly healthy. And again, at the same time, we're seeing much greater strength in the Russell or the IWM, depending on how you're looking at it. This is the bottom 2,000 companies. The IWM is just the ETF of that, but this looks like a standard back test. And if you just do this, just move it a little bit right to here, again, it looks nice and even and steady, and it looks like a back test that's ready to go higher. And this looks like what we drew, right? This is an old line. I haven't touched this chart in ages. The Russell looks like it's completed a back test and like it wants to go higher. And the measured move for the essentially, is this an Adam and Eve? I can't even remember off the top of my head. I'd have to look. It's been so long. But the measured move is roughly 38% higher than today. And I want to make the argument that the big companies are spending massively on CapEx, $600 billion this year, right? They're not going to look as good financially. And so I can see their PEs continue to contract a little bit, even though some of them are very low. But at the same time, the companies that benefit are the ones, in my opinion, that are looking towards these AIs, trying to figure out what the best one is that they want to invest in. And they're cheap and they're almost getting commoditized. And so you're seeing that these things are just going to get cheaper and cheaper, and the competition's going to pick up. And like Grok is already amazingly smart, but again, it's behind. Elon said that this year, by the end of this year, it will be better than every other one by a large margin. I think you better believe that. So competition will tighten up even more. There'll be losers in this area. And so my take is the S&P can underperform because these guys are spending all the money, but they're spending all the money. Other companies are benefiting from that spend, like Nvidia and all the Irons, the Clean Sparks, the Ciphers, the Nebius, all these companies that are helping feed this are benefiting, and construction companies and just a lot more areas of the economy are benefiting from this massive spend. But I do think that could happen, and I do think things like the Russell 2000 will continue to outperform. I think that's pretty much a given at this point. I don't know how many people see that, but in my opinion, it's a given. Let me just move this back out of my way. So I think oil's coming down. That's nice to see. I think metals are coming down. That's nice to see. I think the rotation is going into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other cryptos, and we'll look at that real quick, and then we'll get into other news, because we do have a lot to talk about today, as usual. And again, hit the like if you could. But we can see how we're testing resistance now at this first fib level. Kind of seeing that same thing in Bitcoin, right? On the fib extension, we're seeing that test. It's literally hitting the same line on Bitcoin if you look in the top or bottom right corner. So you can see that once we break above this, Ethereum is really going to take off. And BMNR, I think somebody said that a second ago. I think it looks really attractive right here. Metaplanet also doing things. A lot of these treasury companies doing things that people aren't realizing. We got to talk about STRC. That thing. Let me know, guys, what the new Bitcoin count is for this week. I think it could be pretty hefty. Probably some stock dilution also. More importantly, I think a lot of that is going to be STRC. That engine was firing off like crazy this last week. It's going to be a sick amount, I think, that's purchased. But again, guys, on BMNR, just a lot of coinciding variables here, right? Where we got the 100 and the 200 colliding with each other. They were acting as a resistance. You can see how we got pulled down here multiple times, right? Wicks down. Now we're sitting above it. This could be the first breakout day we have for BMNR. Right when Ethereum is breaking out, this is breaking out. Again, heavy dilution strategies that are going along with BMNR, with its premium above 1 MNAV. And I could see I could see our boy Tom Lee has not been slowing down on buying with Ethereum. They're gonna keep that up, and again, they bought a ton down in this range, and I think that's been a really smart move because I don't think Bitcoin is done yet. So loving BMNR. Probably gonna take a break on some of this though, and get back over here to other things that we want to cover today. Trueflation. 1.54%, again, well underneath the historical trend that we were seeing here all of 2023, 2024, 2025. So again, Shelter still bringing stuff down. I don't think inflation's a big issue. Crypto Fear and Greed Index. We have a fear. Well, this is weird. A lot of advertisements here. Let me go back over. Let me refresh and just make sure we're at 23. We are. Okay, they just like to advertise shit. So we're at extreme fear on that level. And then with the stock index, we're at 22. We're actually worse at extreme fear. So I like these levels. I like it when we're in extreme fear. We've been here for a very long time, especially for crypto. We've been here for months. It's one of the longest times in history. I want to say going back to 2023, maybe even 2022. So this is a good sign. It definitely means we're a lot closer to the bottom than the top. Looking at today's economic data, we've got the New York Empire State Manufacturing Index that is coming out in about 30 minutes. That should be an interesting one. It has been ticking higher. It did come down. Well, let's just look here. It did come down just a little bit. But again, you can see this trend. And let me just go back here. You can see this trend. We'll go to the 5-year. You can see how it's just been in the gutter. The economic cycle was over in 2022. This thing started to fail by the middle of the year for the manufacturing index. And again, it just got even worse with the Fed raising rates at the most aggressive rate in history. So we stayed very negative. Now we're starting to tick up. I'd like to see that do that again today. Industrial production. These are February numbers, capacity utilization, manufacturing production. Those are probably going to be the big ones today. I don't think these auctions, I don't think anybody cares. Housing market index, meh. So there isn't a lot of data today. Tomorrow, ADP employment change is probably going to be a big one to look forward to. And then again, as every week, Wednesday through Friday is when a lot of the big stuff comes, the PPI, the CPI, all the inflation stuff. So quiet start to the week as usual, but looking very good and looking very promising for the week. I think we're going to make some decent amount of money this week. Let's get over to the news and just keep going down here. Don't have a lot of bookmarks today, but again, you can see the breakout. This actually had Ethereum at 2245. Ethereum is actually higher than that right now, like 2270 levels or something like that. So we are above the resistance. Be great to close that today. Oh my God, I got to show this just because it's so awkward and I love it. But Ben Stiller, not related to anything about investing. Here's Ben Stiller with his pop line here. Nobody is fucking paying attention to him or even talking to him. And he's at a grocery store promoting his product and nobody gives a fuck. I actually think this is great. I think that we need to pay less attention to celebrities, especially liberal woke ones that push agendas and that say things like we shouldn't be using Tropic Thunder themed animations and memes for the president because he's anti-war or something. And this guy literally played a guy playing a retard in Tropic Thunder who was making a movie about war. And it's just like, what the fuck are you even talking about, dude? Your movie would be so fucking canceled today. One of your best pieces of work by far wouldn't even make it onto the screen today because of the woke culture that you support. But just look at this. It's so great. It's so great. I'm going to turn the music down. Look at his face. He's yawning. Dude, this is sad. This is so sad. Look at this. Nobody's walking up to him. He's yawning and he's promoting his thing. He's like, hey, you get some of this, because he knows this person is videoing him because nobody gives a fuck. And he's just standing there looking like an idiot in a grocery store with nobody coming up to him. Nobody gives a fuck about Ben Stiller. So again, it's probably humbling for him, and maybe he needs a little bit of that. Quentin says most obvious Bitcoin bottom in history. I agree. This is what happened last cycle. You guys want to see the Bitcoin bottom for the last cycle? It literally looks like this. I'll move the Bitcoin thing over here. It literally looks like this, right? If you look over in the bottom right corner, guys, All the cycles do this. Like right over here, we went down. This one was a little weird back in 2017 because we had such a blow off peak, but it went down to where there was volumes again around that time, and then it bounced and it followed this trend line higher. And again, right here, we're hitting it again. And the cycle before that looked really close. When you get down to these levels where you're hitting the previous high, this is usually a bottoming pattern. And I think that's going to hold true now for just a number of reasons. But again, I think it's going to end up being one of the most obvious. Metaplanet did something interesting. They issued 100 million moving strike warrants with first of its kind MNAV clause. So again, I think the good thing here is that they're only going to do it if it's 1.01x MNAV, basically to where it's got some accretion to it. They don't want to do it where it's just dilutive and they're not, and it doesn't have accretion because the stock isn't highly valued and they're not pulling in that premium and sucking that in to buy more Bitcoin, thus increasing the value for everybody that owns it. So I like the construct here. I think it's a good thing to do that. I think all of them really should have been that way. Holmar's catalog says this is what people don't understand about Elon Musk. This isn't failure. This is, somebody said that, missing the target would be a failure. I agree with that. But I think what he's trying to represent here is that if you don't even shoot for it, it's a failure. And so I think we have to think about that in the investment world. We're going to make mistakes. And you know what? Before I get too far into this, actually, I want to go back to the top. I should talk about this. The portfolio. So I changed a number of things. It's subscriber only now. So it's just you guys commenting. I took out the portfolio balance for now. I don't want to look at it. It's fucking depressing. I'm down a little over 50%. I'm good. I don't need to show that every single time and have people shit talk me and use it to attack me. This is what happens, guys. I didn't get rich from having a 50% drawdown, crying like a baby and walking away. And maybe that has something to do with the taking shots with the arrows too. But I got rich from $367,000 at retirement at the start of a pandemic in like March, April of 2020. I quit my job and I started investing full time. I got down to like 170 or something. I can't remember the number, $1,000 while I was having to support myself and other people, not my wife yet, because I waited another year to do that, but having to support my loss of income, dropping down to 167K and having very little to be able to fall back on. But I knew that Bitcoin was a great investment in 2018, 19, and I knew that Tesla was too. And so I leaned into the pain. And I think that's a lesson as long as, and another thing I want to point out here too. So I'm going to probably add additional charts into here. I'm going to add one that shows like the percentage of options versus stocks, so you can guys kind of see my risk profile a little bit, and then also separate it by sectors so that you guys can see how much I have in defense, how much I have in AI, how much I have in Bitcoin, how much I have in other related cryptos, that kind of stuff, so that you get an idea of kind of the market mix that I have. But yeah, you can see it's pretty diversified now. Tesla's at the top, but I own ASST. I've got really equal portions kind of going all the way down here. And then I've got these starter packs that I call them, where I've got smaller positions in some of these other things that I'm just really keeping an eye on. Because I think if you have money invested in something, even if it's a small amount of your portfolio, you're more likely to really follow it and to keep track of earnings to figure out whether or not you should be buying it again. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. You can see some defense stocks like Kraken, a little bit in ONDS. I've kind of dialed out of some of these defense stocks as I've been buying other things. But I love Tesla. I love Strive. I think that's awesome. Andy, thank you for becoming a member. Pretty sure you've been here before, but thank you for coming back. BMNR, I think, is great in the current position. ARKG, I have hope for. Hasn't treated me well so far. Down a decent chunk on that one, but I have hope that at least the January 2027 and the 2028 calls can do well. I think that's probably going to be the case, and then I can at least make back my money, if nothing else, if not making some money on top of it. Because again, some of these are very asymmetric. It's like a 10x return the underlying. So if this thing doubles, that should make up for a lot of losses and then some. Zeta is probably the right way to pronounce it. I love this one. I think it's just a great investment. I got it from Long Investor and a few other people. TLT, not a great hedge during war, but I think it's honestly kind of bottomed pretty good. It's not sitting too bad now. I think a lot of the wind was taken out of its sails. Cypher, Enphase again, I love this one for the solar. and like their inverters. I think this is a great play. It's down so much. Almost all these stocks, guys, are down a decent chunk. Tesla not as bad, but ASST is down over 90. BMR was down like almost 90. ARCG, I don't know if that one's as bad, but still like 60 something. Zeta is probably down like 40 or 50. TLT is down like 55. Cypher's down probably less now. A lot of the AI ones have done better. This is down like 90. This one's down like close to 80 something now. A lot of these have been hit hard. Even Hood is down over 50%, like closer to 55. A lot of these are just, so they're in positions where I can do really well. So I just want to articulate that. I'm very excited about where things are right now. Also, we have banks like Standard Chartered working with a Korean company in order to be able to create stable coins and digital assets. I think you're going to see more and more of this in the months ahead. I will look at comments here in a second. Let me just get back to where I was on my cheat sheet here. All right, let me look here real quick. Surely Metaplanet and MSTR will front run 2 to 3x Bitcoin. Yeah, I think so. I think Metaplanet could 3x. I think MicroStrategy could maybe 2x. And I think that I think something like Strive again could 3x pretty easily too. I'm trying to keep the numbers really conservative. I'd rather say something that's very likely to happen and then see it do even better than that. I'm trying to be a little better like a CEO of a company doing a quarterly report. Ben is like, I'm a star, come see me. And everybody else is like, I need to get my fucking groceries. Yes, sir. I agree with that. Bartender Bill, 2026 is going to be an incredible year for AI integration with healthcare. You just watch and see. Anyone in the industry knows this. I think so many different areas, man. Healthcare, finance, everything where you have a bunch of administrators that perform really basic fucking tasks that don't need to be there. They're shoveling files. They're grabbing a file, plugging it over here, turning it into a report. Goodbye. Kiss your fucking job goodbye. And if that applies to you, I'm sorry. Central, how long do you usually own a stock? My picks. Yeah, so it depends. It really depends. I think the longer, the better. If you have things that you really love, hold on to them for a long fucking time. I love Tesla. I'm probably at this stage, I'll just be adding Tesla. I don't think I sold some, and that was actually really good timing. I sold some. I want to say it was the end of last year. Whenever we hit that peak, let me pull it up real quick here. I sold some up here, right? Like when we got up here. I don't remember if it was 400 something. But this thing got to 490. Then it went down to like 383. I've been buying it, small amounts, because again, this is not the multiplier I'm looking for right now. Even though it's treated me really, really well. I think in the next year or two, this thing can go up to 900, maybe even higher. But that isn't a lot of money compared to what I think some of these others can do. I think there's things that I think on average I can maybe 5x or 4x this year, at least 3x. And so on average with the portfolio that I have. So I'm looking for a little more return, but I also can't not hold Tesla. But I think the longer the better, man. The longer the better, and the more conservative, especially if you've done well, like taking a more conservative approach. If you've done well and you've got life-changing money, I mean, I wish I would have done that in October. Maybe I wouldn't have went down. I think I dropped as low as 60% from where I was, and now I'm recovering. That's kind of depressing, even if you are still a multimillionaire, and luckily I'm still that, but it's still depressing, right? Because you don't want to lose that much, and I wish I wouldn't have had this. I wish I would have followed my rules. I wish I would have got out of options because they were too short-dated. The lessons learned, even if you've done this a lot, you can always learn. And so I'm excited about where we're headed. And I've learned some lessons along the way, and hopefully we all have. 1.18. Oh, did we get it? I think MicroStrategy January 2027 calls are still cheap and will play well. January 2027 sounds better. I'm not interested in calls right now, but man, if you were going to buy them, now's probably a good time. I just keep it to a decent, a low amount of your portfolio, and remember your risk profile so that you don't get crushed. That's all I have to say. I like buying options a lot more when we're not like near all-time highs on indices. But again, Bitcoin's done a lot worse over this last half of the year, so I think that's probably a better option. ARCG, yep, it's a thing. We can look at that one here too, real quick. RHX, 1.18 billion for STRC sales and only 396 million for MSTR sales. How many Bitcoin do you know? What did we end up with Bitcoin, guys? Let me know, and I'll pull up ARCG real quick. I do think the chart is finally looking better on this one. Let's just look here. So we did cross underneath the support line. If you look over here, you can see the support line. The support line's kind of multi-layered, though. It's kind of like a band. And so technically, we were probably still in it. If you lowered this down, I won't do it right now. But if you, well, maybe I will. Let me just see. I'll unlock real quick. Because you could see on the weekly, you kind of get these bands between the daily and the weekly time frame. You can see how there's wicks. So if I do something like this and just bring this down to where the wick is above the line and it's more like following the band, where you have the actual daily candles printing, then it looks really good and it looks like we found support. I do believe that's true. I think we got this nasty little wick here. It doesn't look good. It looks like a double top, but I find it hard to believe that ARCG is going to go down much lower than it is. It already went down 84%. It's currently sitting down 77% from a high that it set a very long time ago in January of 2021 or June of 2021. So I think ARCG has found its bottom. I'm not applying more capital to it right now, though, but I do think it's found its bottom. And I think if that's true, again, the options that I have that expire in January 2027 and 2028 will do really well, and that will increase the pie that I have in that investment. Tesla. So this is Austin, Texas, guys. This is yesterday, it looks like. Began investigating the story all day. Multiple Waymos frozen and blocking traffic with APD. The police department for Austin attempting to get the lead vehicle moving while other Waymos are trapped behind it. So again, all these things, this is just sad. This is just sad, dude. Like, Waymo is not competition. I hope people are understand that. 22,337. That's lower than some people's crazy ass estimates. But man, if you would have told me that 22,337 Bitcoin would be bought in one chunk in a week from MicroStrategy. You got to remember, guys, we're only doing 450 new Bitcoin issuance a day right now. So you're looking at like what, 22, 23 days? In 1 week, you're looking at 3 weeks of consumption. What's your favorite multiplier for this year? I've got so many. I mean, I just showed you a ton of them. I like diversification right now, man. I want to be in multiple great investments. I think Enphase is great. I think it's nice. Maybe I'll go back to this. Yeah, I'll just do it right now. I'll go back to it. Let me pull this up. So ignore this. That's a funny one though. But we'll just go back over here. So I like all these. Tesla, probably not as good of a multiplier. ASST, Strive. I don't know if it's going to be a good multiplier this year. It's got until like September or November, or September to October is when the warrants fall off, the optional ones. That could hold the price down a little bit, where maybe it can go up like 60, 70% from here, but it gets a little stuck. Or they could spin through it, and it could go up a lot, especially if Bitcoin goes up a lot. But I like this one as a longer-term hold, no matter what. I like Matt Cole. BMNR could easily, I think, 3x, 4x this year. Again, I think ASST, Strive, could do that same thing. ARCG with my options, I think I could maybe get a 10x from where I'm at. Zeta, I think this thing could 2x maybe this year, or 3 even potentially. But I love this as a longer-term hold. It's got a beautiful looking financials, like some of the like pre-Palantir exploding type stuff. TLT, I think, is still going to be a good hedge from where we're at right now. It has not done very well recently, but it does look like it's starting to turn around. I think people are starting to realize the war might not be as big of a deal. So I still do like this setup. If this is the low, you still got higher lows. And again, if we just need to get back above the 87.70 range for that to really kick in. I think we could do that next week or the week after. So I think this one is looking pretty good too. And again, asymmetric opportunity if you got the options on that one. Let me go back over here. They're all good, dude. But again, diversification is key, and understanding what you're invested in is key. If you don't have the confidence levels I have in these things, like SoFi I think is great, Hood is great, Kraken is really overvalued. It's went up like 30x in the last 2 years. But if Anduril keeps doing great, that could go up. I've got to research it more. I like Zscaler. Over here, it's only a 2% holding. I like DFDV. It's a Solana play. I think it's an awesome opportunity. I like, again, these AI plays between Iron, CleanSpark, and Cypher. But again, I've got 3 of them, 15% of my portfolio towards the guy providing some of the infrastructure for AI, and again, the dedicated connections to energy. This is all. I think all of these can do great. Metaplanet can do great. All these can do great. So I'm just looking for a diversified mix. I'm not looking to get max gains. I'm looking to not fuck shit up like I did the end of last year, and to make a really nice return for this year. And then I can do a really one. If I get to 10, my goal, if I get to 5 or 6 million this year, just a doubling, I'm happy. And then if I get to 10 million, I'm going to be ecstatic, and you'll probably see me sitting in 2 million in STRC, or at least 1.5 million in STRC, maybe another 750,000 in SATA, maybe some actual TLT bonds as well, with another 500,000 or something. You'll look at me pulling in $350,000 a year in just dividends from these things. And then I'll have the other $7 million left over. So I think on top of what I'm making for the YouTube and the social media stuff, which is close to $200,000 a year. So I could live off of $500,000 a year. I could do that pretty easily. So again, it's just one of those things where when you start making money, just be smart. Be smarter than I was in October. Colin, ETH supply on exchange just fell to 15.8 million, lowest since 2016. This is actually shocking. This is shocking because, again, you're looking at supply levels that are even lower than where they were in 2017, which is saying a lot. And so there's just, again, the supply demand. The thing I like about low Bitcoin, low Ethereum, low Solana on exchanges is that it gives a really great opportunity to have a massive breakout if volumes increase, because they simply, if people don't have the money on exchanges, they can't sell it quickly. Now, there are other paper vehicles nowadays. There's ETFs. So just remember, this doesn't apply as much as it did in 2018, 19, and 2020. But it's still, I think it's still important, and I think it still holds value. Hanging out with Jesse. Yes, you are. 22,337. That is a beautiful number of Bitcoin. Peter Diamandis says, bartender, interview with David Sinclair should wake people up. That's why I'm so bullish on ARKG, Sleeping Giant. I agree. I like David Sinclair too. But again, I look at it this way. If that doesn't work out and my thesis is absolute shit on ARKG and maybe Zeta, maybe I'm wrong about Enphase. Again, these are probably some of the ones I'm most excited about. Maybe ARKG isn't right at the top of the list because, again, it's got the timing of the options. But if I'm wrong on a couple of these, it doesn't fucking matter, because if the others are pulling in 3 to 4x this year or next, I'm making a bunch of money and I'm happy. So it's still very much asymmetric bets right now. All right, Bull Theory said this is absolutely wild. Crypto just had a massive green week while gold, silver, and global stocks wiped out trillions due to the U.S.-Iran war. Yeah, so the big thing to own was oil. Everybody that was in metals seems to have jumped over to oil when they figured out that trade. And now I think they're getting scared of oil and they're jumping into Bitcoin and Ethereum and things that were highly sold. That's just the way it works. BTC Daily, so he was talking about over here, Super Bro, was showing 73.7, how we're still pushing up against this resistance. We're actually right at that level right now. So we haven't officially broke out of this rising bear flag. And you could kind of call it a bear flag. I don't really think it is. But if you look at it visualized under this lower time frame, it does look like a bear flag. So we want to get over it. And again, I like the way I'm viewing it on my fib here. I think we could grind here. We could even maybe go down and test the midline, like back down to 68 something if things got weird. And then we could bounce again and break out. So, but we're not quite there. We're not quite there as far as that rise. But again, if we get above 74,000 and hold that, guys, then we're above that rise. And that's a good thing. This is kind of funny. So this is a massive explosion at Iran's international airport. Evidently, this was Khomeini's plane. This was the dedicated plane for the regime, like their nicest one, Air Force One. Air Force One is no longer. And we got President Trump warning NATO of a very bad future if they abandon America's plans to open up the secure and the Strait of Hormuz. So what he's doing is applying pressure to NATO right now, because you got people like too late Keir Starmer who didn't want to help and then wanted to come at the end. But Trump is basically laying down the law and saying, hey, you better fucking help out with this shit. If you have a vested interest in it, you better do your part. Now, I want you to listen to the head of NATO real quickly and what he thinks about not Trump's comments, but whether or not NATO should be working with the United States. So let's listen to the head of NATO and see what he has to say.
So when President Trump is doing good stuff, I will praise him. And I don't mind him publishing text messages. And if anyone thinks here, again, that the European Union or Europe as a whole can defend itself without the US, keep on dreaming. You can't. We can't. We need each other. And why do we need each other? I tell you. First of all, because also the US needs NATO. And the US is not only in NATO to prevent the mistake after the First World War, not to re-engage with Europe. And then again, the long arm of history reaching out to the US again in the Second World War, as Churchill famously said in his speech in 1941 in the US Congress. They are also in NATO because for the US to stay safe, and by the way, Arctic region is evidence here, they need a secure Arctic, they need a secure Euro-Atlantic, and they also need a secure Europe. So the US has every interest in NATO as much as Canada and the European NATO allies. But for Europe, if you really want to go it alone, and those of you who are planning for that, forget that you can ever get there with 5%. It will be 10%. You have to build up your own nuclear capability. That costs billions and billions of euros. You will lose then, in that scenario, you would lose the ultimate guarantor of our freedom, which is the US nuclear umbrella. Good luck.
So good luck. So he's saying we shouldn't do that, and I 100% agree with him. Let me see here. So what's your thoughts on Cypher over the next 2 years? I don't know. Again, all of these, I think it's going to do well. I think within 2 years it would do well. Within a year, honestly, these Iron, if I'm being honest, Iron, Cypher, CleanSpark, these are probably year holds for me. And that's if they do really well and go up. And why do I say that? I say it for a number of reasons, but one of the main ones, and let me just move some of these over because they're just not represented well. Let me do this. I say this for a number of reasons. The main one is that these are not likely to do well once Elon once the narrative becomes strong that we're going to space with data centers. Now, that is nowhere close to happening. I think that's probably, again, at least a year before they get something like where people start to get excited about it. And then it's probably 2 before they really start to do it in some way. Maybe it could be 3 or 4 before we get good at it. And so it's probably a ways out. But I think these guys, you've got this period where you have very few people who can get you connected with energy. Right now, Texas is a big state for that. There's 135 data centers being built in Texas. So I think that over the short term, this to me looks like, a falling wedge that's going to break out, or something that could kind of look like a bull flag. Either way, it doesn't really matter. And we could see a continuation higher. This is a $5.7 billion cap on Cypher. That's not too high. Actually, it's dropped so much. I mean, what is it down? It was $25 a share. It got all the way down to 12. And so you got a 50% discount on it. So it looks more attractive here. I do think it could still go up. I think you could get something if things really kick off with Bitcoin and AI and the markets are doing good and we're really starting to fire up an economic cycle. I think this thing could go up. It could 4x. It could do this golden retracement. But those things have to happen. Like it's got to, the demand has to be real. And I think it is. And then all these things can go up. But again, if I fuck up this play, if Iron, Cypher, and CleanSpark all turn to shit for whatever reason, even though I think a CleanSpark is still a little bit of a Bitcoin play, they haven't really been cashing out their Bitcoin that much. They've still got a decent position. Same with Mara. Mara has a huge stack. So those are kind of a little more Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin does well, maybe they do well too. But if like I lose 10%, 15% of this where they don't perform the way I want, and maybe they lose 50%, that doesn't matter if all the other stuff does well outside of it. But I do think the most likely path is that we at least get back to our other high here, which again is like a 70-80% increase from where we're at, and we try and go higher. So like 34 seems like a guarantee. I really don't think you can go wrong on a lot of these. But again, this one's a $5.7 billion cap. CleanSpark is a 2.5. Mara is a 3.54, and Iron is a big one, sitting at almost $14 billion. So just think about that. The sheer size of them can limit their upside too. Just remember that. But Nebius is even bigger. I don't even know what that one is off the top of my head, but it's a really large. Yeah. Anyway, all right. I'm hanging out with Jesse. Yes, you are. Victor says, but STRC, if BTC goes up, yield would go down. No. Yield is like around 11.5, I think is what they try and cap it at. If it goes up to that point, they basically cash that shit out and buy Bitcoin. So that's what happens with that. Now it could drop, the price could drop, and you could lose some value on it. But its ratio, its Sharpe ratio, is like one of the best in the industry, which means the amount of reward and payment that you're getting with the amount of volatility that you're experiencing is super stupid low. So it's one of the best vehicles out there. It's better than bonds. It's better than government bonds. I think you really have to wait for it to kind of prove itself. It proved itself. This last couple of weeks with the Iran war proved that people are scared of government-backed bonds and corporate bonds. They like those, and they might still buy some of those, but they don't look to them as worth as good of a risk to reward as something like STRC, where you're getting 3x the return on what you might get for government bond nowadays. But it's got actually a better risk profile too. So especially when compared to the last 4 or 5 years. So I don't know. I think STRC is fucking sick. I think it's fucking sick. Is a freaking liquidity vacuum. It is. It reminds me, some people have shown like Kirby. Remember the video game Kirby, where it just sucks in all the fucking Bitcoin? That's literally what's happening right now. And if MicroStrategy, when the world's falling apart, can buy 3 weeks worth of new Bitcoin issuance, just one fucking company, and there's 11 countries on this earth that are doing state-backed Bitcoin mining. 11, and I think it's really 13, because I would be surprised if the U.S. isn't doing that. Well, I mean, they kind of are, because again, you've got Trump's sons doing the American First, like Bitcoin miners and stuff like that. But it's probably like 13. It's maybe even more. So nation states haven't really fought hard yet, but they're going to. It's very exciting. Eric Dougherty said President Trump confirms he's in active discussions with bringing multiple countries and secure Strait of Hormuz, defeating Iran. It's in the best interest of these countries to help do that. China might not need to, because again, there's talk of them letting China through, letting India through. I think that's great. That's 50% of the traffic for the Strait of Hormuz. So if they're going to do that, wonderful. Saudi Arabia has let us know that 6 million barrels are going to be 6 million additional, 7 million in total are going through their pipeline. So they're good. That brings us from 20 million that we were at before down to 14 already that we need to get back. But then if you chop up this India and China and say that they're able to get through, you're actually looking like 6 million that we need to make up for. And then you have the 400 million that we're taking out in the reserves. You've got like 100 days of reserves. And that's if they don't do other things to try and help with the process too. But I think countries like Japan, they're like 90%, I forget what the gauge was, but like they're the highest as far as impact and effectiveness of this. They're going to help. France has indicated that they're going to help too. I would be surprised if we don't get other NATO countries coming there to be able to basically secure the strait. And I think there's still a possibility too that we take Karg Island. I think all these things are happening. I wanted to talk to this. Warren Redlick put this out, and I thought it was brilliant, and it's really nice to hear somebody else say it. And so I piggybacked off of it, but it said, Elon Musk said all jobs will be optional. There will be a universal high income. I agree with that. Somebody in my thread said, hey, I still want to work. Well, I mean, I think I'm working, right? Guys, we're getting close to 74,000. I love that look. It's a good look. But I'm working, right? Like, I don't have to do this. I'm doing it. And it's kind of awesome because I'm honestly making more just from social media than I ever came close to making in my professional career life. I'm making like 3x more. The most I ever made in a year was $75,000 personally. Again, I'm a high school dropout, so that doesn't really give you a good paycheck in the past, right? But and now I've gotten as high as 3x that. So doing this, just talking to people on the internet, something I never ever thought I'd do. So I think that jobs will be optional. I think a lot of people will still have them, and maybe they'll be non-traditional. Maybe you'll talk about your favorite dogs. Maybe you'll talk about your favorite plants. And there'll be people who love you and interact with you, and they'll give you money for it because money will be in greater abundance. And again, just other jobs that people, if people want to do delivery services, I think they're fucked. If they want to be a paper pusher, I think they're fucked. But if you're creative, I think you're going to do really well. And I think everybody's going to make money in the future. 74,000 guys, we just crossed. I think everybody's going to make money because, again, there's going to be a good income. And I think that you're going to have like some kind of citizen thing where if there's a portal where if you can help clean up at the state level, like at a park or something, you can get extra universal income for that, and give yourself a boost to your paycheck, or again, any number of things, right? But Warren said, I see a lot of people who don't understand what Elon is saying. I think I understand. AI will grow the economy faster than governments can print money. So if governments can print money and give it to their people, the people will have money and prices will go down. So everyone will have what they want. The thing I'm less sure of is whether the governments will print money for or want the people to have money. They totally do. So what did I say here? I think I clarified this a little more than Warren did. I said, I've been saying this for years. And guys, in chat, if I've been saying this, can you please comment in chat? If you've heard me fucking say this shit or seen posts, can you please comment in chat? And also, can you guys hit the like? This channel has been struggling lately. Not near the 1,000 plus, live people that I used to get. So anything you could do to help is awesome. But I said, I've been saying this for years. Governments will print money and give it to people as a basic income. I like a citizen's income where you still have to do something unless you're disabled, because I think you should incentivize people to move and work and do things. I said, but it'll be fine because of AI and robotics helping reduce prices. So they'll drive prices down, right? We can already see that that's happening. AI token costs are just plummeting off the face of the earth. So that'll be a commodity soon enough. And then all these small companies, mid-sized companies, even large companies that aren't having to devote a lot to CapEx for AI, and instead are getting these commoditized, reduced prices that are competing with each other like crazy in the years ahead. They'll be getting better deals. That people will be more efficient. They'll have better reporting. Everything's going to be better. So prices will drop with this technology, especially when you get robots walking around or AI agents doing the tasks that humans used to do. There is already, I listened to the Peter D. Amendus talk with his podcast talking about the future. And what is it called? I don't remember it off the top of my head. But in one of them, there's this guy who's like a graduate from like all these major Ivy Leagues. He's brilliant. And he talks about how, what was my thought on that? Agents, how there's a $1 billion company that's already been formed with only one person and AI agents working behind the scenes. I think that is true. And moonshots. Thank you, JT. I think that's true. I think that the first $1 billion company with one guy and a bunch of fucking AI has probably already happened. And again, that's just exciting, right? When you can disrupt with a small number of people just from having really good logic. I mean, nowadays, guys, AI is like, I used to run SQL queries back in the day. Again, high school dropout, but somehow I got myself into different things that intrigued me. But I ran analytics and reports for a bank. I won't say which one that it was right now, but that company eventually got bought out and then it got consolidated into Fidelity. But I used to run queries, and SQL queries are basically the really hard version, or any kind of querying is the really hard version of what can be done today. There was something called ACT. There were a bunch of all these different databases and ways to query them, right? And all you're doing is you're selecting like the table you want to look at, and you're putting the parameters that you want to look at, and then you're deciding how it should be outputted and whether or not any formulas need to be committed to. That is being done now with AI, just with words. You can just talk to it like a human being, and it can do all that heavy lifting, and you don't need to understand all the nuance of code or queries. It's just so much fucking better. It gives so many people power, okay? So many people. And that's bringing prices down. Historically, it's done that. It's going to do it like fucking mad now. We've seen nothing like the age of agentic AI and robotics and autonomy. Nothing like it, okay? I don't know. I might play with Clawbot. I don't know. I'm going to probably let other people do that. If I find anything, I'm going to watch more videos of people utilizing these things to see if there's anything I can find benefit in. But I'll let other people do the heavy lifting. Plus, there's so much risk. Definitely want a standalone computer for this. Definitely want standalone accounts that you're linking it with, especially if you're tying money to it to perform any actions for you. You want to make sure it doesn't run away with token expense too. There's a lot of, you got to put it in the walled garden if you're going to play around with that shit. But yeah, I'll probably let the moonshot guys do it. They've got claw bots. They got little fucking toys sitting all over their sets nowadays. They're even wearing little hats. So I'll let those guys do that. But again, reduced prices are given. Now, I think plus governments, states, cities, corporations, pensions, and individuals have the ability to invest in Bitcoin, which I think is going to be the best store of value on the planet. Now, there are other scarce assets. I think copper is well overdue. We'll look at a chart with that too. It's the copper to gold ratio for decades. My friend Cantonese Cat, my favorite pussy, he for cats. He was showing that the copper to gold ratio over like last couple of decades, and copper's overdue for a run. I feel like in my opinion, Dario, we need money now. Call Leaps, bounce back, Jesse, please. Leaps are dangerous, man. There might be some I'm interested in. I'm going to do it with a really small amount of my portfolio. I just don't care that much. I'd rather be safe, and because here's the thing: what if all of a sudden you go long calls, and then we're at war with China this year? Everybody said 2027. Maybe it happens this year. Maybe Xi overthrowing all of his military and wiping them all out, even with seeing all these losses, still thinks he can take Taiwan. Well, if you've gotten a bunch of options for this year or even heading into next year, and you're a year early on those options, you're not going to get a lot for return. So again, I love options. The options were great. Here's when options were great, guys. And there might be some of these good opportunities now. I don't see as many of them, okay? But here's where options were great. Options were great when I bought them down here. Options were great with Tesla when I bought them down here. Options were great with Tesla when I bought some over here, right? That's when they were great. When I was looking at Tesla down 75% from its fucking high, that was just a great opportunity. I need to fix this chart. It's broken. That was a great opportunity. But right now, would I think about options right now when the high was 500 and we got all the way down to 370 and we're sitting at almost 400 right now and we're not even down, we're down 20%? I don't think I would. And I feel bad for the people that were buying options up here, talking about $1,200 to $1,500 price targets. Again, it's just, you just got to remember that this is a $1.47 trillion company. So again, I like options. I've still got some with ARKG. I've got some with TLT. I think they can do well. I definitely want to go out years. Years is good. Late 2027, that sounds like a better number. If you're buying those here for 2027, like late, basically 2028, you're probably going to do all right. But just keep this in mind. Keep in mind that Tesla is going to be spending a shit ton on CapEx. And I agree with my buddy Warren, who also posted something. He lives in Southeast Asia. I think Thailand. I think that's where he met his wife. But I agree that Tesla is probably going to have to spend a fortune on CapEx too. Terafab is putting $20 billion in for CapEx. Maybe 5x that would be my guess. So my biggest worry about Tesla and these other mega $1 trillion companies over the next year is CapEx. That's something I've really started to think about. They've got to spend a lot on CapEx. And I don't love that. I don't love that look, right? Having to spend a bunch of money. But again, I think we're at an age of abundance here. I think Bitcoin is going to be one of the best stores of value. I think it's going to be way better than real estate. Real estate, the ability to print homes is going to get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. The land is going to be the valuable part, not the buildings that are on them. So I don't know. I think things are going to get interesting. Tesla's the only I'd trust with CapEx. I agree. I think a lot of the others are going to wasted CapEx. But we'll see where it all goes. Cuba, before communism, after communism, 67 years this country has stepped away from capitalism, and look at what it's turned into. This will change. Cuba's going to fall. Might even fall in the next week. This is something I've been saying about Tesla for a very long time. that it's not sensors that matter and that it's got a brain and that Waymo doesn't have a brain. I love this illustration they did, but I think they need to make the brain on Waymo a lot smaller and harder to see. Otherwise, spot on. Copper to gold. We're going to hit that in a second. I believe ETH will surprise a lot of people over the next 12 months. Guys, you could just do this. If you didn't even trust ETH, you could just literally ride it from 2,000 to like 4,500. This is a nice band and range that you're going to make money off of. Even if you didn't trust it, like that could just be a good flip. I think it's going to go higher. I still think we could see 10,000 this year, pretty easy, 10 or 11. If we do that, I think BMNR could do really, really well. I think it could do a 5, 6x pretty easy, in my opinion, from where we are right now. Tesla has tons of cash. That's a good point, Kirby. Yep, they do. There's a lot of the big guys have a bunch of cash, but I think it's just going to be the market and the analysts saying, whoa, they're spending so much money on CapEx and revenues aren't growing that much, especially with the other Mag 7. Like, it's going to be hard for Microsoft to make a really good point about how they're going to crush it. Google, maybe a little better position. Meta, and just again, like massive cash companies, massive cash cows, but their valuations could get hurt if they think that they're not going to be able to do something that really brings in investment money and starts increasing revenues. All right, let's go down here. Eric talking about just decimating strikes over Iran last night were just crazy. Today, we've got Nick Shirley going after California. I started watching some of that because I'm a sub to him. I sub for $5 a month on X with him because I love him. I think I might be sub to him on YouTube too. This kid, man, whatever you want to call him, doesn't shave much, I'm guessing. He is one of the best American patriots we have. And if Tim Waltz goes to prison for what he's done, Nick Shirley will be one of the key people doing that, and I love him for it. I put all blue states. Again, this is just states with the highest percentage of mail-in voting. They literally are all blue states, guys, like pretty much. Indiana, I guess, is not. Arizona. But again, just very interesting how much people are using and abusing it. I'm going to skip some of these other things that are really political. This is just talking about the war in Iran. It's the Institute of the Study of War, basically saying that we're kicking ass. It goes into more details, but that's the gist. Highest state income tax rates in the United States: California at the top, Hawaii, New York, New Jersey, District of Columbia, Oregon, Minnesota, and now I guess Washington is in that list too. All blue states. It's like there's a pattern there. MTS Mahmoud. The one thing is clear. President Trump is going max in his last term. He's going after the difficult to impossible tasks that have long plagued the U.S. geopolitically. He is not guided by polls or taking heads on the news or talking heads on the news or social media. Panama, Venezuela, Iran, China, Cuba, etc. History will judge the results, but on some level, you got to respect his commitment to his conviction that he is acting in the best interest of America. You got to remember, he thinks he has a mandate from heaven. Whether that's true or not does not matter to his psyche. He is willing to make decisions that most people would not make. Oh, wait, 1 second here. 1 second. Sorry, it's my little girl. She's going to school, and she said, bye, Dad, which is awesome. Iran Watcher, again, more major explosions. We don't need to go into all that. Just, again, a lot of explosions showing different pieces of it. Israel is preparing their largest reserve mobilization to head into Lebanon. Lebanon, in case you don't know this, in the south, you got the Hezbollah, you got the Palestinians, you got the Christians, the Druids. There's just so many different fucking factions and more. Right. And so the Hezbollah has controlled the south for a while. They basically get to make decisions for the Lebanese government. This is a proxy of Iran. It's going to go away. They're going to murder all of them. More power to you. 500,000 reservists. Not the Druids. Druids are cool, but no, the Druids. All right. Am I even saying that right? Druids? Correct me in chat, guys. Data centers under construction in the United States. This is fucking insane. I just want to validate this real quick again, too. I think I already did this, but I just want to check. Yeah, dude, this is crazy. This is real. So listen to this. This is nuts. We'll go back here. Data centers under construction in the United States. I don't know how you couldn't be bullish right now. 135 in Texas, 134 in Virginia. But with that new governor, with that governor, the Hunger Games bitch. I don't know, man. I don't know how well this is going to work out for all the data centers that are in that state. We'll see. Georgia, 51, Ohio, 45, Arizona, 30. Just look at these numbers, man. Look at these numbers. I don't know how you can be bearish right now. Again, my boy Kevin Svensson even has turned bullish on Bitcoin. I like Kevin. He's a really good TA, technical analyst. He just shows here where when we have these downtrends on the weekly RSI, when we break out of them, it usually turns into really good stuff. Up, look at this, up in a major way, right? Over here, breaking this downtrend that's fairly prolonged, up pretty decently, decent amount. Breaking the downtrend, up, pretty good one. Breaking the downtrend, pretty good one. Breaking the downtrend, pretty good one. In fact, most of them look like slightly increasing metrics. So if we got something like that again, we'd at least get to the 100,000, 110,000 range. But again, the way this is sitting, we overshot to the downside, which breaks a head and shoulders pattern, which means we're going higher, probably going to the 140 to 145,000 range. We got Trump here saying that the FCC is going after all these news organizations. I won't read this entire thing, but basically he's tired of the news media lying and spinning the truth and being 95% negative about what's happening in the United States with Trump when it concerns Trump. There's a big bias there, and I don't know what they're going to use for it, but they're going after him, man. Terrafab breaking ground this week. That's awesome. So again, if we look over here, Zero Hedge has an article. I won't go into it, but he's just reiterating the fact that gold is looking to drop underneath 5,000. Right now, sitting at 5,018, might get a slight bounce today, but at the same time, we're seeing Bitcoin take off. Bitcoin is up. Bitcoin and I think Ethereum are up like 13, 14% or some number, while gold is going sideways and chopping down. My buddy Cantonese Cat, here we go. Favorite pussy. IWM, he's just showing the correlation here on this chart and what it looks like. This is actually even cleaner setup in IWM, to be clear. But he's showing this setup, and here, let me actually just do this. He's showing this setup and what the Dow Jones looked like from 1977 to 1983. So that was a 6-year time frame, looking comparatively to something similar today, and just showing the potential of what it could do for upside. I agree with this. I think he's really right. He's onto something here. Trump says U.S. could delay summit with China. Again, we just saw Scott Bessent confirm why that was. Phil Rosen, just found this guy over the weekend. I like him. He said the S&P 500 averages 14.2% up in the 12 months after geopolitical shot dating back to the Korean War. I wouldn't fade this. If you're going back to the Korean War as far as timelines, I'd say that's a pretty good opportunity that you're going to go up. And again, we've got a couple that were bad, right? 9/11, the Ukraine invasion, those were more negative in nature, much more prolonged than I think we're going to be looking at here. So if you ignore the fact 9/11, guys, 9/11, that there was I won't even go into that. There's a lot that went into that time frame. But yeah, the Iraq invasion, look at this. And Iraq was longer, but again, we crushed it. And I think that's one of the key differences. We did all right in the Korean War. We did good with the Cuban Missile Crisis, the 6-Day War, the Gulf War, Iraq invasion, Brexit vote, COVID-19. These things were all short-lived or things that we did really well. I think that this one's going to be the same. So I think that average will actually be low. This is talking about 2 nurses in Tehran that were treated wounded protesters that were gang raped and hurt so badly that they had to have their lower intestines removed, and they have to use colostomy bags because they were raped so viciously. I won't go into all the details, but just disgusting shit for why we need to get rid of Iran and Tehran. That's what evil is, Tucker Carlson. I don't know if you've ever heard of evil. But what evil is when you rape somebody so bad that they have to get part of their fucking intestines removed or their colon removed. That's fucking evil. Trump is considering completing the hard stuff now. Yep, I agree. Won't reiterate that again. Zero Hedge, U.S. plans to announce coalition for ships for the Hormuz. Again, that's supposed to come this week. Ethereum, I thought this was great. This just shows the consolidation, the trend line test, then the massive moves higher. Everybody thought these things were going to go down a bunch, and they didn't. and then they just consolidated. This Ethereum consolidation is a very long one. Ethereum only got life because of Tom Lee. The network was still doing all right. It was moving and shaking, but it only got moving because of Tom Lee as far as the price. But he's right. Tom Lee is smart. He crushed it during the telecom sector. I am very willing to place a bet in my portfolio for 8% of it to go to BMNR in Ethereum, right? And then I got another 2 to 3% almost in DFDV. That's Solana. So I've got about 11% of my port, 12% of my port sitting in Ethereum and Solana. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, but I really believe it will. I think he's spot on. I put this will be huge. The Cuban government, so this is Michael Weiss, saying the Cuban government is expected to announce as early as next week an economic reform to allow Cuban Americans living in South Florida and elsewhere in the U.S. and around the world to invest in private businesses on the island, the Miami Herald has learned. They're being forced to push communism out and start letting capitalism in so that they can get their energy back on. This is the Venezuela play. It's going to work even better because we don't even have to take out the leaders. We're going to help the Castros basically go into exile, and we're probably going to keep the existing leadership that's there, the president that's there. We're probably going to keep him. I put I'd never let my kids near Reddit. This is just talking about how a top transgender Reddit moderator has deleted his account after being exposed as a convicted child sex offender. These are the people. This is Reddit. Reddit is a biased, disgusting place where people don't have a voice if they're conservatives and where pedophiles get to hang out. So if that's where you like to be, definitely push your kids there. Paul put Rokana says he won't fund the U.S. military. He was happy funding the Ukrainian war. That's all I have to say. Iron, looking good. Kind of that same consolidation we're sitting inside of Cypher. So I do believe these AI plays are looking like they want to take off. Maybe not as well as ass and titties, because ass and titties, guys, again, these treasury companies really starting to feel some love finally. With ass and titties breaking up another 7% after an 8% on Friday, sitting at 1020. This thing got all the way down to $7. So we are up decently, 40+%. I'm going to have to adjust this chart again. Ass and titties treating us really good. Let's see what else we got here. Yep, war did not help. So Mike Zaccardi, SCFA, certified financial accountant, says B of A bonds only hedge stocks in a world of record low inflation. U.S. bond and equity correlation, 4-month rolling average. So what we're talking, I do believe this is actually coming down. I believe this trend is coming down. They don't show you all the remaining years here, but it is showing that it's dropping a lot. The war didn't help. That's what fucked up TLT. So I was way too early on ARKG and TLT. I still think they're going to end up being decent hedges, or I'll at least make my money back. The war did not help. I did not have a good hedge for war. Guess what that turned out to be? Gold and oil. Well, and silver too. So wish I would have been more diversified, but that's why we're doing this now. We're starting to get more like that, right? And that's why I have a copper play in here too. I didn't even talk about it. Do I even have it listed? It's really low. Yeah, Euro, 0%, but it's a growing percent too. I want to increase that. Jesse, what are your thoughts on the private credit markets? Jordy Visser has been talking about it. I actually did a post about that. It was really short. I said, I'm not worried about it. But I also said that if Jordy Visser is right, that the private markets are going to blow up, then I think bonds blow out and the yields go higher. So TLT is going to suck. But you know what's going to do fucking great? STRC, MicroStrategy, and Bitcoin. Because if people can't trust governments anymore, if they can't trust the private sector, that means that we're going to be doing shit tons of money printing. That will drive these up, and it will also keep people away from government bonds and corporate bonds, like I've been talking about for a while. And I think, and again, people aren't necessarily going to pile a ton into software until they start to feel good about the companies that are doing well in that sector, and then the ones that aren't. Even though we could see those go up, because again, some of them are down 60, 70% in a very short period of time. But I think the money flows into STRC, man. It flows into the vacuum. And so I believe that if you do believe that Jordy Visser is right and that private credit is going to be a major concern, which I do not believe, then if you own Bitcoin, you're already in it. And I own Bitcoin. I own Bitcoin and ASST. That's 10% of my portfolio. I will count Metaplanet as that too. So I'm up to 16% now. I'm going to count CleanSpark in that because, again, they got Bitcoin holdings. And they're not just a pure AI play. They didn't go that route. So that's 21%. And then I'm going to count, let's see here, MSTR, 24%. I'm going to count I probably DFDV and BMNR too, really. So like I've got 30 plus, I've got a third of my portfolio in Bitcoin or Bitcoin-like investments that can do really well. So that's how I feel about that. I feel like I'm in a good place. Thoughts on Ben Cohen's analysis? I don't even follow that guy. I fucking hate him. He's a dipshit. Let me know if there's anything interesting. Reddit lies. My highest achievement. This is such a great post. BitPain put this up. I just want to touch it real quick. This is literally why socialism doesn't work. Oh, you know what I didn't look at? Let's go back over here. 730 past, guys. And we didn't look at the New York Empire Manufacturing Index. It took a dip. Okay. For March, it took a dip. That's probably not crazy. Again, we're looking at, this is New York after all. But again, the low, I would argue the higher low going back to June of 2025 is still trending higher. And we do get kind of 2 months up and then a month down, 2 months up, a month down, 2 months up, starting to decline. Month down, not as bad. I would like to see this turn positive next month. But it's just kind of like meh, and it's New York. And again, there's all these things going on behind the scenes. So much being built right now, but not necessarily running from the manufacturing perspective. So I'm not too worried about this, mainly because it's New York. But we'll see how that plays out. We do want to see it start ticking up here, especially by mid-year. We want to see that. Get them before the reverse split. Which one? Hey, ASST long calls, budgeting. Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably just staying away from calls. But I think Strive is going to be a good one, man. And I'm willing to hold Strive for years. We do have at 8:15, guys. Remind me in 15 minutes. We got industrial production, capacity, and manufacturing. Those we probably want to take a look at. We had really good trends on capacity utilization, industrial, and manufacturing. We would like to see those trends continue. We'll see if they do. Back over here to the socialism thing, why socialism doesn't work. I just got to say this. This is such a good point on socialism, guys. This is the kind of stuff that we should use when we're posting to people or telling them why socialism doesn't work. He said, my high achievers are starting to notice their hard work doesn't matter. 6th grade teacher in SBG district. I don't even know what that is. We are not allowed to take off any points for late work or creativity, visual appeal, right? On projects, it isn't a standard of mine. I'm not allowed to grade it. Meaning one kid has a poster with nothing but some words written in pencil, gets the exact same grade as the kids who went above and beyond. They started to notice that kids who turn in things late face no consequences, and the kids who do the bare minimum get the same grade as them. One of them said to my face, how is it fair to be that he turned in his project late with nothing but pencil on his poster, but mine is on time, creative, but we get the same grade? I don't know how to respond appropriately. You're disincentivizing people to do anything special. People that are special don't have an incentive to excel if they're not getting paid more, if they're not getting accolades like an A when other people are getting Bs. They have to just simply love what they do, or they're just not motivated. And I'd say the majority of people fall in the category of fuck it. If I'm going to work so hard and be treated the same way as the guy who didn't go to school, didn't try hard, then why the fuck would I try at all? Why should I? That's the mentality you create. I won't go into this one. I killed 900 people and raped 50 underage girls and 200 women. That's the piece of shits that we're importing into America without even checking who they are. MicroStrategy 3-month chart looks like it bounced. AI is good, at the very least inevitable. So somebody said AI is deeply unpopular. Oh, Brad Gerstner, talking about how only 17 of Americans approve of it, 83% in China do. I mean, I don't know that I trust a poll in China, but I said it's at the very least inevitable. Truth seekers need to be the people wielding this power, Grok, not ones that look to suppress dialogue. We have to win this war. So if it's suppressing one side or giving priority to other people, it's got special weights to try and balance out the world. Not a good thing. President Trump plans to announce that multiple countries, yep, we already talked about that. Willis put down communism as bad and showed how Lenin, 1 million deaths, Stalin, 20, Mao, 45 million, Pol Pot, 2, Castro, 100,000, probably more. And people still love Karl Marx and think that he's a visionary. I actually saw terrorists in Lebanon through this channel. I forget what it's called. It's like, it's Boca News or something. But they go to different places and try to be really unbiased. They met with some people who didn't like Hezbollah, but they were former Hezbollah, and they went to the region that was full of Hezbollah and then talked to somebody that was part of Hezbollah. And these people, you could see in the background, they had all the stuff worshiping Hezbollah, worshiping Khomeini and Iran and all the stuff in the southern parts of Lebanon that used to be the Hamptons of Lebanon, but they all got destroyed because of war, because of all these different factions that fight each other all the time. That the only thing that these factions ever agree on is that they all hate the Jews and want to murder them too. But outside of that, they murder each other. But in that, they even had Karl Marx and like other Marxist materials in with the Muslims. So you could see that these guys, they just find each other, right? And then you got this super group over here of Democratic mayors, Zohran Mamdani, Chicago's Johnson, Boston, Oakland, Seattle. These are some of the dumbest the Seattle ladies never even had a job. This lady let her city to burn down deliberately so she could give it to fucking homeless people. I mean, just crazy. Charlie Balelo, I put, this should continue. If you think about it, all of their spending a fortune on CapEx, so maybe the S&P. Oh, this is the argument that I had. All 7 members of the Magnificent Seven are down on the year and underperforming the S&P 500. So the S&P 500 equal weight is up 1%, but the total is down 2.9%, and the Magnificent Seven are the ones dragging it down. Microsoft, Tesla, Amazon, Apple, Meta, Google, NVIDIA. So I just said, this will probably continue to happen. China supporting Russia. You can see the drones that they're building for Russia in China. Trump literally dodged a bullet by milliseconds. He has the mandate of heaven. You'd be a fool to fade him. I agree. Bitcoin fair value sits at 165. This is based on global liquidity. That's probably right. Fed balance sheet has grown by $110 billion since the beginning of not QE in December. I actually agree with this. I know Bessent said that we're not doing QE again anymore. I think that's kind of a lie. We're doing it. You can see it right here. Now it's being done in a different way. We're not doing it with long dated issuance. We're doing it the way that bitch ass Janet Yellen used to do it, which is the shorter dated stuff, which directly acts as liquidity for banks to increase their lending. So if you've been getting more credit card offers, it's because of this. Let me look at chat. Tier 2. Cosma said, get them before they ever reverse split. Oh, that was from earlier. History guy scalps BTC right at resistance for the 5th time on the daily. Yep. That is true. Central said money market funds are moving to STRC. Totally. 7.8 trillion in money market funds. It's not even just money market. It's like the entirety of the bond market structure, which is a lot more than money markets. It dwarfs that number. Kirby text, Jesse, your thoughts on SoFi? Financials are getting hit because I think that's really stupid. I think the inflation isn't going to last. And I think that SoFi is a great deal. I've been buying it. It's increased a lot in my portfolio. I was buying it all the way down to here when it overshot the .618. It was down almost 50%. It's up here now. I think that it's going to continue to go higher. Look at this volume spike right here. It looks good, dude. I don't think SoFi is looking bad at all, in my opinion. I think it looks great. If you guys have more things you want to look at, let me know. We got the SEC chair talking about all U.S. markets will be on chain within 2 years. This is super bullish. I'm not going to play the whole thing. You can look it up yourself. Iran. So this is a comparison between what Iran could look like if it wasn't being managed by a bunch of terrorists, which is Dubai on the right, and then what it looks like on the left. Isn't it just crazy what managing your economy and getting rid of radicalism and having laws that are followed? I mean, I would argue that Dubai is still too strict and conservative and too Muslim, without using a better term, than it is right than it should be. But look at how much more prosperous it is because of what they do versus something like this that's one of the most oil-rich nations on earth. We're using lasers. Funny story, the Chinese version of these lasers did not do well at all for Saudi Arabia. They've got a bunch of this equipment, but it was overheating because of the deserts. It didn't operate up to spec, and it took 13 to 20 minutes to kill a drone. Some of these drones are going 130, 150 miles an hour. Good luck watching one with a laser for 13 to 20 minutes trying to kill it. We have ones that actually do that. Cool. We got them on ships. Helios is a big one. We've got reports that Basijis are getting killed by people in Iran. They were shot dead with somebody that had a shotgun. I actually think, guys, I don't think people are looking at this. Yeah, I should pull up a Nebius one too. I'll do that. Give me one sec. I think people aren't thinking about this, but guys, we've got full air superiority. We can drop pallets of AK-47s to different people in the middle of a desert. And we've got portals where we're communicating with people that have turned against the regime and that are siding with the former prince, or I should say the rightful prince. And they're communicating with us. Why couldn't we just not just get information from them? Why couldn't we tell them, hey, if you got a bunch of people, we're going to drop 100 AK-47s over here at this location and let them pick them up. And then they can start shooting the Basiji and killing all these guys themselves. You can arm the Persians make up like 54, 56% of the population. And then there's a bunch of other factions too that all hate the IRGC. So why not start arming them? I think we're probably doing that. So that's why I threw it out there. The Immortal Guards. Yep. The Immortal Guards. The prince called for the Immortal Guards to start fighting. Yeah, dude, it's fucking cool. I think they're doing that. I think that's starting right now. Bitcoin outperforms everything during political events. This is kind of interesting. I think, yeah, this is from River. I didn't know if it was from River or BlackRock. They have another good one too. S&P 500, gold, Bitcoin through geopolitical events. Let's move it up here. U.S. Iran escalation in January 3rd of 2020. The 60-day return, Bitcoin rocked. COVID outbreak, Bitcoin rocked. Russia invasion of Ukraine, Bitcoin rocked. U.S. regional banking crisis, Bitcoin rocked. The only time it didn't was the yen carry trade unwinding when people were using it more for gold trade and Trump's Liberation Day with tariffs. But for the most part, it's crushed it. I love that. Asset managers just dumped $36 billion in S&P futures in a single week. I like it when asset managers are bailing out of things. I like it when sentiment is really low. I like it when we're in extreme fear for long periods of time. Thailand is seeing gas shortages. Interesting. BTC, again, broke out. Even if you just look at this trend for this year, it broke above it. Before you contemplate seizing anyone's assets, Jason said this, JCow, wow, from the All In Pod. You have a moral responsibility to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse, and anyone stealing from the government should face a 2x multiplier on their punishment. I 100% agree with everything he just said. Real quickly, I will pull up Nebius. We still got about 20 minutes until we get those other reads. Let me just, I don't even know if I have a Nebius chart. Let me see if I can find it real quick. What is the ticker? NBIS? I do. Yeah, okay, cool. Excuse me, yawny today. All right, so we can see that we got up on this one. I actually probably need to do, depends if this is the bottom on whether or not I do another fib extension. We probably can call it one. This is looking pretty sick. Yeah, we should call it a bottom. So let me just readjust this. I mean, you're right up near all-time highs. So we're going to call this the bottom, and we're just going to redraw this here because we've got a new trend-based fib to follow. I don't know. It's questionable on whether or not you do it from here or whether or not I think I'm just going to do it from here. Yeah, so it looks like we're trying to break above the first fib level. I mean, it looks good. You got all the volume underneath of you. It's up 10.5% on pre-market. I don't know if that's based on news. This thing looks like it has a target price of $254. Yeah, I know Tanner, Crossroads. I think there's a few people. It's a pretty popular one. I think a bunch of those guys like it. Tevis, I think, is another one. It's also a $28 billion market cap, though. So you have to think of that. But I would argue it is kind of like the leader, with maybe Iran coming up behind it at 14 billion. Contract with Meta this morning. That makes sense. Yeah, I think people are filling up the big ones. I think Nebius could be a big winner. Again, it's doing really well today. It's beating, what's Iron up? Iron's up 5.5. So it's doing about 50%. The others are doing about 50% the performance of what we're seeing right now from Nebius. 27 billion is a pretty big revenue contract. That's a nice one. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so again, I think this thing can go even higher. I'll save my chart here. I think this thing could go to like 240s. But again, you just have to remember this, guys. The size of it, the market cap, does potentially limit some of the upside. It's already a $30 billion cap. If this thing doubles, it'll be 60 billion. Now, why do I mention that? Because MicroStrategy right now, what is it at? MicroStrategy is 46. So MicroStrategy is about a little more than 50%. This one, probably 60% larger of a market cap. But MicroStrategy has how much Bitcoin? And Bitcoin, I think, can do a 26-30% CAGR, compound annual growth rate, for a while. I don't know if NBIS, there's going to be a lot of competition in this space. And that's the 2 billion too. Yep. So again, you can make a lot of money off of this. You could double pretty easily. I think that's a given. But will you get the greatest multiplier from it? Or will some of these other smaller ones get paid too? I think MicroStrategy could 3x. I think it at least goes back to its all-time high, which is basically 3x, right? So about 15 minutes until the next report here. Oh, I do want to check this out too. Let's see if we have any good videos. There's other news. Again, the Iran war is going great. Ignore the noise. People are already starting to forget about it. I'm probably going to post less and less about it and focus more on, again, financial stuff and companies. But ignore the noise. From the news stuff, though, everything's going really good. Tesla's doing a great job. A lot of things are going really well. Cuba's going to probably fall in line before Iran does. I wouldn't worry about that stuff. Let's look, though, for media. Now that I know I have CNBC back, I'm trying to look here and see what they have for content. Just make sure we don't miss anything. Oil prices will take many months to restore and get lower. Yeah, that's probably true. The Fed has to look through the spike. Siegel. I want to see what Siegel says. I wouldn't finally pencil 2 rate cuts. I wouldn't firmly okay, so that's just somebody, Roger Ferguson. Let me see here. Any other good one? I want to listen to Siegel. Let's listen to Siegel. He's like the best. I love this guy.
Joining us now, Jeremy Siegel, professor at the Wharton School. Professor, so good to have you. You know, you called it right, as always, on Friday when you said, look, these inflation numbers that we're going to get today probably going to come in as expected or maybe even better. What did you see from that reading that you found interesting, and then what do you expect from the Fed this week?
Well, I agree with Roger. We're not going to see anything this week. Honestly, I don't think we're going to see anything until we get Kevin Warsh taking over in the June meeting.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless there's a big deterioration in the job market, which we don't have any evidence at the present time. I also wanted to comment that some people are saying, oh, is this a supply shock such as we had during COVID and the Fed didn't get ahead of that? It was behind that.
No.
This is
the
100% different. And let me tell you.
This is the opposite. If anything, this creates demand destruction, which ends up making it to where things get even weaker for economies. And that you want to offset with lower rates. It's the complete opposite. I'm sure Jeremy will say the same thing. Siegel's awesome.
Tell you why. Right after COVID, we had the biggest fiscal stimulus bill since World War II. Yeah. And in the 2 years from March 2020 to March 2022,
have a good one, man.
Jay Powell engineered the biggest increase in the money supply that we had in 150 years. We don't have any of that now. And so I do not think that,
He's right.
Obviously if we spike very high, there's going to be a ripple. But I think the Fed has got to look through this. The market today seems to be telling me, hey, there's some maybe there's some good news on the horizon. You look at the market; they seem to sense something. One of your previous guests said that almost half the oil through the Strait of Hormuz.
Hey guys, real quickly, the 10-year is down 1.24% today, so that's great. That should be a nice bounce for a TLT too. I don't know where TLT is sitting. Probably got it over here somewhere, but that'll be a good thing for the bond market.
Hormuz is now going through pipelines.
Here, I'm going to hit the
which I think
restroom.
is
I'll
really
be right back. I'm going to let him keep
quite
talking.
amazing.
Let me know if I miss
but
anything.
I think we should have 2 cuts later on in the year. But my God, there's so much between then and now that I think the Fed is completely in a wait-and-see environment.
Yeah, and you mentioned the optimism of these markets up this morning despite all the headlines. You know, this divergence between the geopolitical volatility and these buoyant markets perhaps hasn't been this stark in a long time. We're talking this morning. Does that reflect composure or does that reflect complacency? What's your view of whether the markets are really pricing the risks right now?
I think they are pricing the risk. I mean, you know, certain countries like Dubai is in a bear market now. I mean, I think they just went down 20%. But, you know, we're basically energy self-sufficient. We're going to get the rise in oil prices. But look at the dollar has gone up almost 5%. We don't talk about the fact that that is lowering the price of imports which is going to cushion that inflation number somewhat. On the other side, we are so much in a better position than the rest of the world or where we were 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And I'm old enough to remember 40 years ago in 1980 when that oil went up, and boy, we were in one of the worst recessions we ever had because, you know, we were importing half of our oil.
Yep.
So
different situation.
We are just in a so much better situation. And I think the market thinks we do have the upper hand here in Iran, and they're going to come to a deal, and it might be this week. That would be positive.
Yeah, it would be
of course,
so positive.
A lot of tail uncertainty.
I don't actually know that that's going to happen. Here's my thought process real quickly on that. I actually think within about 2 weeks, we're going to invade Karg Island. We've got 3,000 plus additional Marines coming there. Some of these guys are literally, again, a part of the amphibious. Ooh, Fox Business. One sec, guys. We got to switch. I'm going to go out of Jeremy Siegel here. I want to hear, we got Kevin Hassett talking. I want to hear what he has to say for sure. Let me see real quickly. Why isn't this playing on here? Oh, because I don't have it on Fox Business. Where is Fox Business? Fox Business. Over here. Let me see here. Live. Where the fuck is Fox Business? Right up here? Yes. Okay, good. 1 second. I want to see if I got to go back here a little bit. I wanted to see Hassett and what he's saying. And I don't know if that's old. It might be. Yeah, it might be. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I can go back to that in a second. Let's get back over here to Siegel. It does look like that's a conversation that happened on Friday. Or I'm sorry, Sunday.
Here, but certainly something. The market's thinking something right now,
10 minutes
I believe.
until additional data.
So you're not as concerned about inflation right now?
No, because I think once you look through this oil.
Let's stop. It was 8:15, not 8:30. Let's look. Industrial production, 0.2. That's higher than consensus of 0.1, lower than the forecast of 0.3. I'm going to say that's okay. Capacity utilization, 76.3. That is higher than consensus. That is higher than forecast. I'm going to say that's good. This is for February. Industrial production, 1.4%. Forecast a little bit higher. Still a good number. Manufacturing production month over month, 0.2%. They were looking for 0.1 or 0.2, so that's a beat/meet. Index is all up 1% today. Woot. Yeah, it's nice to see. And so manufacturing production year over year, 1.3% versus 2. So again, it's showing continued market strength right here, much better than what we saw for half of 2022, 2023, 2024. We're still seeing good stuff here. We do need to lower rates. We need that peace dividend. We need that peace dividend from taking over Iran. If we take over Karg Island, we're going to have control of 90% of the flow. Now, they could probably fix that where they get another 30% out via pipeline and some other initiatives. But they're looking at a 70% reduction. And the key thing that makes Iran money. And so their government is really going to collapse if they don't have Karg Island. And there's ways for us to be able to put people on the southern part of Iran around the Strait of Hormuz to put some boots on the ground, just thousands, not like 100,000, not 500,000 people like what we're seeing Israel doing. Israel is doing the heavy lifting on clearing out the Middle East, which is good. That's what they should be doing. It's their home. But I think we'll see a lot of other countries coming together this week to help support the initiatives around the Strait of Hormuz. The amount of rocket launches that we've seen, guys, I don't know. I'll see if I can find some of this here. We probably should go through some other charts. The amount of rocket launches has plummeted. Drones are still a little high, but again, they're going down like crazy too. We're blowing up everything. This government is completely neutralized in just about every way humanly possible. Now it's just really bringing in the pain for them. But again, here you can just see these trend lines, guys. Resistance, broke above it, support, 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 support. This is all beautiful. Let me see what else we got here. I just want to see if there's anything else we really want to talk about. Trump is actually still sitting at approval rates that are higher than where Barack Obama and George Bush were at their second term. So again, just don't ignore some of the narratives that you see out there right now. Trump-Iran support growing at the beginning of the war. Trump had a 50% among likely voters, all parties. Now he's at 59. Ignore all the bullshit, guys. Deep in the money leaps. If you got a bunch of those, man, enjoy them. All right, so again, the polls are a lot better than people realize. Oh, this is a good one. I put so Cantonese Cat has a lot of good stuff. He's got a ukulele and sings sometimes, and then represents himself as a cat, a horny cat, really weird, but great guy. 2022 is when the pattern really changed. I put exactly when the Fed started to raise rates at the most aggressive rate in history. If you understand that the business cycle is just starting, well, then you're sleeping like a baby. And so what is this saying here? So you can see 2022 in this, right? The copper to gold ratio goes way back. It goes back to 2012, right? Almost, where this thing's just been descending and descending and descending. I would argue it's definitely found support at the bottom, so we should start seeing copper going up versus gold. Now, what I don't know over the short term is if that means gold is going down first, and copper is barely going up at all. I don't know. But copper does tie in with the economic cycle, and I think uses for copper are skyrocketing as people look to move away from more expensive precious metals to it. Since it's very versatile. So I could see that doing even better. So I'm interested in copper, looking to add to it. I've got that euro position, probably add more to it. But if you look over here, you can see, again, the dot-com bubble. This is showing the NASDAQ versus gold. What's fascinating about this is you see these little circles here. The bottom was always found when the copper to gold ratio hit this trend line, going all the way back to 2011. You're talking 15 years of data here. And again, you can see where we hit that bottom again. But also, my note here is that you can see the top that the NASDAQ had because of the economic cycle and the fact that the Fed raised rates at the most aggressive rate in history, really crushed this, double top, just like Bitcoin did, and then went down, right? So gold has been crushing not just Bitcoin, it's been crushing the stock market as well over those same periods of time, and copper. But all that's getting ready to change. I also like the Gann square on this one. Again, it just shows the copper to gold ratio. It also shows how we're sitting in this band looking to break out higher. And this is the fun breakout, guys. This is the one where you got nothing but net above you. This thing goes all the way up to like $500,000 for this top band. So it's truly in breakout territory. This is Iran's capabilities to attack are nearly eliminated. This is different depending upon where you're looking at it. But this is showing the UAE, which has been targeted a lot. They are hitting Saudi Arabia a little more now too. But just look at this. Look at the day one and then look at where they are now. These things are plummeting. He sings pretty well. That's true, Tony. He does. Or Stoney. That's right. This is Peru. I've had arguments with him before. I do like the guy, though. He showed how asset managers' net position for the S&P is down at the level basically that we saw it at in March of 2020. So I'm sorry, you got to be bullish here. Let's keep going. I want to see if there's anything else of interest here. Oh, look at this, guys. These are TSA lines. This is turning against Democrats. Look at this. Can you imagine trying to get to your fucking flight 5 hours early because of a flight? Has anybody had issues with that in chat? Let me know if you have, man. I want to know the anecdotal on that. All right, don't care about that. Oh, I posted ONDS. Again, this is one I'm selling this morning into the open in 3 minutes. Probably looking to buy something else there too. Might pick up Phase. It depends on what isn't going up a lot today. It looks like that's starting to. But I do like that potential. This one, again, if you're holding this for a longer period of time, what's the market cap on it? 4.57 billion. I just think that there is divergence that's going to pull down some of the defense sector. And you can see where it's a below peak volumes here. You can see it's in a rising wedge. You can see it's been closing underneath of that. This is usually when you go down. So I'm saying, hey, maybe this thing could shed another 20, 30%. You've got divergence here where the volumes are going down too. So you could see something like that maybe happen. Ashana said, I know I'm nervous. I have a flight Thursday morning to Florida. Good luck. Some cities are better than others. I hope it works out for you. I wanted to talk about this too, the art of war. I picked like the worst image for this. It's just super pixelated, like 8-bit shit. But I wanted to just say this again, like what Trump has done with war in this second term is amazing. It shows that he's got this mandate from the heavens, or at least he believes he does. Because with Ukraine, we stopped paying for the war. We were paying a bunch of money. We stopped that. And instead now we're using Ukraine to build up our arsenal, and then we're having them pay for it, which is great. And then we're getting NATO to pay their fair share for defending their own territory over there, which is also great. Venezuela, we blockaded them. We blew up drug boats. We captured Maduro in a day. We replaced him with the VP. We pushed incentives to open up the country. We hold the purse strings now. Bonus, Maduro lets us know how corrupt U.S. or who is a corrupt U.S. politician that might have been working with Venezuela, communists, all this shit, right? and he's probably spilling the beans on those relationships and other ones around the world. So we're getting a lot of intel from having him captured and being friends with the Venezuelan government now, which is the old Venezuelan government, but they have an incentive now to continue to do what we say, a heavy one. Mexico, Sheinbaum. We gave her the ability to take out cartels with America's help. She refused publicly, but they still took America's intel and killed their top cartel leader. That caused, obviously, some chaos, and it didn't look good for her. Now the cartels are probably mad at her because they're like, oh, you are working with America. So Trump was masterful in that. He took somebody who's basically a communist, who's anti-Trump and anti his administration, and got her to say that she will not support taking out the cartels, which makes her look bad to her people. But then at the same time, he told the cartels she is working with me, which makes her look bad to the cartels. The only thing she's got for a recourse really to make all this go away is to work with us. But she could still be assassinated by the cartels. If she gets killed by the cartels, maybe we push somebody into power that actually is pro-America and freedom and wants to work with us. And then Iran, again, we're just doing different formulas for every country. Cuba, we got no military blockade needed. We're getting them to transform right now without doing any of this. Iran, we're bombing the shit out of them. Max intensity, all air. Negotiations come after. They're much weaker. If needed, put troops in the Strait and in Karg Island. That way we can control the purse strings, make others around the world help with the Strait so that we're not paying the bill for trying to escort ships. I love all this, dude. Yes, the bell did ring. You are right about that. Let's see what the setup looked like beforehand. Pre-market looked juicy. Meta up 3%. Was Meta the one that was doing the Nebius deal? That would make sense. Yeah, it was. Okay. But yeah, beautiful looking start there. We'll switch it today and see what happens. I don't know how much longer I'll stick around, actually. I probably need to do some stuff. I think I might call it here. Nebius up 13%. It's going to be a good day, guys. I don't know if we're completely done with pain in the S&P and stuff like that, but ARKG's up 2% today. SoFi is up 1.3. ONDS is up 6.2. That's great because I probably sold right in that range. Palantir is up 1%. I'm excited about SATA getting closer to 99. It's at 97.1. That's the vehicle that Strive uses to be able to buy Bitcoin. I think they're getting ready to be able to use that, which is great. Let me see here. Metaplanet is up a couple percent, it looks like now. Or actually, let me refresh. I might need to refresh. This one isn't loading. CleanSpark, it says, is up 5.7%. Mara's up 3.9%. Iron's up 7.3%, getting back to its resistance line that it fell underneath. That's a really good sign. Again, doing about half the performance of Nebius. Tesla's up almost 2%. MicroStrategy's up 4.5%. It just looks like a strong day, guys. BMNR up 11.2%. Gotta love it. I think we're going to have a really great day, guys. My message, believe in America, understand that we're winning the war, understanding that Trump is actually doing a really great job in his second term. I never would have expected the things that he's doing. I was a TDS, anti-Trumper, fucking pretty much the whole time with this guy. And I have to acknowledge how amazing he's doing. And just realize, too, that oil is probably peaking. Metals have peaked. Or at least they're, I think they peaked. They could go up and maybe touch the high again for a double top, but that's about it. I wouldn't bet on that stuff. I'd bet on Bitcoin. I'd bet on America. I'd bet on our future, and I'd bet on the economic cycle taking off from here. I love you guys. I will see you on Monday. You can find me online. I appreciate all of your support, and I will work hard to support you in return. I hope you guys have a great day.